We start tonight tracking the Mosquito Fire. It has now burned more than 63,000 acres. Dozens of buildings have been destroyed and 9,200 more are threatened as we speak. The fire is now 20% contained with more than 3,600 firefighters on the front lines. Take a look. This is the fire evacuation map. It shows the areas under evacuation orders and warnings. And keep in mind, evacuation orders have been in place for more than a week in most places. And so we do have team coverage tonight, starting with ABC 10's Luke Clary. He spent the day with firefighters.
Temperatures have cooled now, and so fire activity will slow significantly over the next several hours. But as we have seen in the Mosquito Fire in the last few days, things can change quickly.
As the sun sets over the Mosquito Fire, crews remain at work to prevent its spread north of Forest Hill Road.
So our firefighters are continuing to hold that line in the corridor to make sure that the fire doesn't cross into the community.
This remains the #1 priority.
Yeah, any structures, any businesses.
Hand crews working in tandem with air support to stomp out spot fires.
Here it's basically pots, parts and pieces. Now this can reignite if something ever happened. And so that's a big concern as well.
One day earlier, on Tuesday, a spot fire jumped the river and threatened homes. The day before that,
big question is, when do we really get to go home?
On Monday, residents were already beginning to lose patience with the evacuation order.
We're working to get them back in, but the situation is so dynamic, and yesterday was a perfect example of how things can change in an instant.
But this right here, this fire that took place yesterday, is a prime example why evacuations take place.
The sun will set again on the Mosquito Fire, perhaps many times, before anyone can go back home.
And so you can certainly feel for folks who live in Forest Hill and Georgetown and other forest towns who badly want to return to their homes. But as we have seen in recent days in the Mosquito Fire, things can change very quickly. So it's important for people to continue to observe those evacuation zones as they continue this fight against the Mosquito Fire.
Luke Clary starting us off tonight. Thankfully, Monica, firefighters facing better conditions?
Well, certainly better than what we saw yesterday. So we still saw some fire growth, some hot spots, and the fire grew to over 63,000 acres, 20% contained. Tonight, we have 10-mile-per-hour winds, just a few of those hot spots. And that's basically been where we've seen the hot spots throughout the day. Also over towards the east side of that flank, still some hot spots over there. That's mostly because of those west winds that were prevalent throughout the afternoon. Now, winds are going to start to shift for tonight. On the temperature side of things, it's still cool. We're in the 40s right now for the Sierra, 50s and 60s for the foothills, and even through the valley, we're in the 60s. You can see the smoke plumes clearly coming out of that fire for today. So there was still active growth. As far as the smoke, it's still really concentrated along I-80 towards Reno, even up towards Sierraville. South Lake Tahoe, a little bit of haziness right now, but we're starting to see that shift of those winds more downslope, and that's going to push that fire more down into some of those canyons. Tomorrow, we're right back at it. The smoke starts to move its way westward, or eastward, I should say, with those westerly winds back towards the Tahoe Basin. And this is what we're watching, that big shift in our weather pattern with the chance of rain and breezy conditions developing for the weekend. Tonight in the valley, we have some cloud cover moving through. Temperatures in the upper 50s, low 60s. Cool weather ahead for tomorrow. Tracking that rain, Chris, coming up.
We'll check back in shortly, Monica. Thank you. You know, so many towns are still being impacted by the fires, and we are keeping an eye on Truckee as well. ABC 10's Van 2 has more on air quality concerns.
The Mosquito Fire's potential impact to Truckee and the Tahoe Basin is being closely monitored. Meanwhile, authorities are warning people who live in these areas that now is the time to prepare. You can see this sign outside of the Truckee Fire Department saying, "Know your zone and are your go bags ready?" This is off Donner Pass Road, where you can see that air quality in this area is among the worst in the world right now. Usually on a clear day down Donner Pass Road, you can see a ridge top in the distance, but now all you can see is a wall of smoke. This choking smoke hazardous for all groups of people, so outdoor activity is not advised. In fact, the Sacramento River Cats doubleheader against Reno East is postponed tonight. Classes at Truckee Meadows Community College moving online, and many after-school sports practices canceled. though we did see some teams practice during a window of moderate air quality earlier in the day. Businesses we've heard from also hit hard, many of them reporting a decline of tourists in the area. We spoke to the owner of Cornerstone Bakery, which expanded 3 months ago with Cornerstone Kitchen. They say since smoke rolled in, business has been cut in half, and they had to send home staff today. They're worried how this will impact their business if the mosquito fire continues to grow and send smoke into town for an extended period of time.
Well, just a lack of business and learning to pay bills. I mean, our bills are going to be hard to pay when we don't have anybody buying our food. You know, a lot of our seating is outside. You can't sit outside with smoke, so we're holding tight and hoping for the best and thanking all the firefighters for their hard work.
As these communities cope with the smoke and keep an eye on the growing mosquito fire, authorities say this is the time for Tahoe Basin communities to prepare should evacuation warnings or orders hit the area. The Placer County Sheriff's Office sent a list of tips for folks, including signing up for local evacuation alerts, hardening your home against ember showers and preparing defensible space, having your action and community communication plans in place. And for the numerous short-term rentals in the area, it's very important to ensure that guests have emergency information and evacuation directions, since they will be unfamiliar with the area. A wealth of tips and checklists can be found at readyforwildfire.org.
Now, there are some who refuse to follow the evacuation orders. People like John Peters and his brother stayed behind, protecting their business and home of 12 years. They say they could not get everything out in time, and it was important to stay to try to save it.
It's scary at times. The fire got pretty close a couple times. I mean, I don't think we were unsafe. We're just keeping everything wet and watching for spot fires, but it's not like it's real comfortable. It's kind of boring.
Now, for those who did evacuate, we do have phone numbers you can call for more information about your home. For Placer County, the number is 530-886-5390. For El Dorado County, it is 530-621-7440.